So welcome back and hello if you are new. Without a doubt one of the most anticipated records of 2020 for me personally, we delve back into the Ocean's second part of their absolutely fantastic concept album, which is Mesozoic, Cenozoic. So for those of you who might not be familiar, Mesozoic Cenozoic is the second part of a concept album that deals with the idea of eternal recurrence. The paleontology-inspired albums go through the various eons that we've essentially had from the beginning of any life itself right up to the modern day. So similar to what I did on Paleozoic, I thought before I'd kind of go into the tracks that I would give you a little bit of a background on the actual idea of what the eons represent and their various sort of times. If you want to completely skip this, I totally understand, and you want to just hear the album, then you can literally just do that by going to this time code. If not, however, we can go through each track and how it denotes to a specific eon and what that really means. So Paleozoic finishes on Permian the Great Dying, which is potentially one of the biggest extinction level events ever, which then leads us into the Triassic Age, which is where this album begins. So I'll be honest, I've got some of this information, I don't know if it's all, factually correct, so don't kind of crucify me here, but here's what I've kind of found out. During the Triassic Age, the first mammals started to appear until there was yet another extinction level event, which would then move us into the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. These periods saw dinosaurs becoming the dominant species and the arrival of birds and lizards.
Well, maybe dinosaurs have more in common with present-day birds than they do with reptiles.
This eon was then ended with the KPG extinction level event, which wiped out 75% of all living organisms on Earth. This then led us into the Paleocene, which saw the proliferation of mammals until this was, again, ended by the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. This was a massive carbon release into the air that lasted between 20,000 and 50,000 years. We then move into the Eocene eon, which, as you've probably guessed, was ended with the Grande Coupure, which basically means another extinction level event. After that we move into the Oligocene, which is a kind of combination of the older ecosystems meeting the more sophisticated ecosystems of what will later be the Miocene. In the Miocene eon there was a huge amount of global cooling, which basically resulted in multiple ice ages. The next eon is the Pleistocene, which we all regard as the Ice Age. And finally we're brought to the Holocene era, which continues right today. And this corresponds to the proliferation of the human species, the creation of history and of art, and civilization itself. It's honestly the most fascinating stuff ever, and I think it's such an interesting thing that the Ocean have been able to kind of make people so interested in this. At least a nerd like me.
Yes, science!
Luckily the Ocean matched their sprawling philosophical concepts with songs that truly tower above their peers. And I think really importantly, Mesozoic picks up fantastically off of where Paleozoic finished. It's not clunky, it doesn't sound like it's trying to redo what Paleozoic had, but it's its own entity completely. Aside from the thematic idea of recurrence, there are also examples of this on melodies, note choices, and actual callbacks that go back to Paleozoic, I think. For example, the fact that Jonas from Catatonia is both on Paleozoic and Mesozoic Cenozoic.
Above the surface, with her radiant collapse, planetary scale.
I think that Pleistocene, for example, brings that cinematic vibe that we had on Silurian with, a lot of organs, those strings, and really is one of the most ambitious songs that I think the Ocean have written. Guitar-wise, there are melodies from Eocene and Cretaceous which kind of mirror each other. songs are both longer but shorter, but allow for a bit more of a meandering to take place. And I think there's so much more progressive elements on this album for sure. And at times it's faster and more aggressive than I think its predecessor, but it's also due to the fact that, you know, Cretaceous and Jurassic, for example, is a really long song, and you have that sense of build-up, so you really get to grips with these notes and the actual songs themselves. I also think that although the band were experimenting with electronics a little bit on Paleozoic, another facet of this idea of being more progressive is definitely the fact that the electronics are pretty much at the forefront of Mesozoic, Cenozoic. The perfect example that comes to mind is on Oligocene, which is basically an instrumental where it's just electronics and reminds me of almost like an 80s goth rock vibe. Completely fits the total idea and the identity of this album. Matthias's performance on this album allows the bass sections to have that tectonic strength to them, but also allows for a bit of fluidity. The bass allows for the guitar to kind of come in and add those melodies, those little specks of colour that really do kind of create such a bigger picture. And where drums are concerned, Paul's performance is fantastic throughout. You can really see his capability behind the kit, where, you know, he brings in blast beats on Cretaceous and Pleistocene, but then there are sections where he kind of holds things back and has much more of a light jazz sort of feel on Eocene, for example. I also thought it was really cool that Paul comes in to deliver vocals on the final track, Holocene, as well, which is something at least I've not picked out on before. And it brings to a close a hugely ambitious concept which has been done in such a fantastic way. Mesozoic and Cenozoic will no doubt be a career highlight for the Ocean, but when you put it together with Paleozoic, it's honestly some of the most ambitious work that we've heard in the last 10 years, without a doubt, and I think it's really going to put the Ocean on the map. So I hope you guys enjoyed this album review. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button, as it would be great to see you guys again on some other videos. Please do also drop a comment. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. If you picked out any other sort of notes that I might have missed and callbacks, it'd be really cool to chat about that. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys very soon for another album review. Take care, my friends.